Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in and joining us as we talk about firearms policy, advocacy, politics, culture, you name it. We're talking about it right here on Coffee with Craig. Please take a moment to like and share this video so that your friends can join in the conversation. Also, please remember to go to fpcgear.com. That's fpcgear.com. If you want to support the Second Amendment and you want to look good doing it, well, then you want to be wearing one of the very cool t-shirts that we have, or one of our hoodies, or sporting an FPC coffee mug. Whatever you're doing, you want to support the Second Amendment, look good doing it, that's fpcgear.com, where every dollar that you spend goes right back into the fight for our right to keep and bear arms. That's fpcgear.com. All right, this is going to be a special Coffee with Craig, because we're heading up here now to the last little bit of time in which the governor has to either sign or veto measures here in the state of California. So I wanted to take some time this morning, and we're going to do a little bit of a call to action and encourage you guys to get active and engaged and help encourage Governor Jerry Brown to veto some of this very, very bad legislation. Now, some of these ideas are ideas that are expansions on bad ideas. Some of them are wholly brand new bad ideas, but all of them are, in fact, bad ideas. And I'll just give you, I'm going to do a quick rundown today, and then over the next week, I'm going to be talking about each one really specifically and why the legislation itself is really bad. The first one is going to be SB 1100. This is by Senator Portantino. This prohibits the sales of firearms to anyone under the age of 21. Now, we've seen these laws being implemented in some states across the country. We've seen them being proposed just about everywhere across the country. We've even seen some Republicans getting behind, some so-called pro-gun Republicans getting behind these measures. Now, I don't know how they can in fact do that when, let's just be honest, if you are an adult, if you are of legal age, if you are legally liable for your decisions at the age of 18, whether civilly or criminally, if you can be sent halfway across the world, handed a long gun, handed a firearm, and told to defend your country, why can you then not defend your own home with a firearm? This is a clearly unconstitutional bill and needs to be vetoed. That's SB 1100. Next on the list is AB 2888. Now, you guys are familiar with these red flag laws, or in California, we like to call them gun violence restraining orders, or at least that's what they call them here in California. This is a gun violence restraining orders, in essence, allows an individual to go to court. In this case, right now in California, it's only a family member, an immediate family member, or law enforcement, to go to a judge, ex parte, meaning you don't get to know about it, you don't get to hear about it, and petition to have your firearms taken away. If that judge decides to do so, then you then lose your right to keep and bear arms. And with that is issued a gun seizure warrant, where law enforcement is then told that they are supposed to confiscate your firearms. They've been told that you have been deemed to be a danger to yourself or others, have lost your right to own or possess firearms, and they're supposed to come take your guns. Doesn't sound like a very good idea to me. It doesn't sound like a very constitutional idea. Now, what 2888 does, it expands who can request these to your employer, anyone you work with. You work with a company that has 10,000 employees, any one of those 10,000 employees can request it. If you go to school, if you're out of school, anyone you go to school with can request it. If you have an instructor, someone who is your instructor as far back as 6 months ago. Now, mind you, these are supposed to be emergency orders, but someone who has been your instructor six months ago, hasn't had contact with you for 6 months, can actually go and request one of these. And the worst part about these is they talk about how this is about mental health, yet there is not a mental health professional included anywhere at any point in this process. And oh, by the way, did I forget to mention that you lose your rights? And you are then, when you do eventually get your day in court, you are then guilty until proven innocent, meaning you now have to spend whatever it takes, getting a lawyer, getting a psychological evaluation, whatever it takes to prove that you are not a danger to yourself or others, even though you have committed no crime. That's AB 2888, needs to be vetoed. Next, we have SB 221. This is by Senator Scott Wiener out of San Francisco. It prohibits gun sales or gun shows specifically at the Cow Palace. We've already talked about this. The city of San Francisco has banned all guns. I mean, they've literally gotten rid of and shut down the last gun store. They haven't banned all guns, but there are no gun stores in the city of San Francisco. And Senator Wiener and even the mayor of Daly City testified, when testifying for this bill, said that they've instituted policies that have made sure no new gun stores open. That is their goal, to make sure that there is no ability for people who live or work in the city of San Francisco to be able to exercise their right to keep and bear arms. Right now, for them, the only place that they can do that in the city is at a gun show. And they want to shut that down, and we just don't believe that the government should be in the business of shutting down the exercising of a constitutionally enumerated right. That's SB 221. Then we have SB 1177. We've seen this one before. The governor's vetoed this one before. This limits the ability to purchase long guns to one every 30 days. Already in the state of California, it's prohibited to purchase more than one handgun every 30 days. Well, this will expand that to include long guns. So we all know it's a bad idea. It's rationing of a civil right. We wouldn't tell somebody you can only go to church once a week. We wouldn't tell somebody you can only have one book from the library, or that you can only vote, once a decade. So no, this is something that is clearly a rationing of civil rights and cannot be supported. SB 1200, this would expand GVROs, or gun violence restraining orders, to include magazines, not just firearms, but I don't know how dangerous a magazine can be by itself, but this is one we're asking them to veto. SB 1346 bans multi-burst trigger activators, including bump stocks and the like. AB 2103, this would impose a statewide standard in terms of the minimum amount of time that you have to take for your CCW training. It also has some really, really vague and confusing language when it comes to how you are tested and what information is then to be made available about that, which we believe has some major, major constitutional issues. So it's just bad. I mean, right now, local sheriffs already, I don't know of any sheriff that has less than 8 hours minimum training. We don't need the state to tell the locals how in which to exercise or implement their discretion as has been given them by the state. AB 3129, which implements a lifetime ban on firearm ownership by individuals convicted of any misdemeanor domestic violence charge. Now, I know that's already the case federally, but right now they're not prosecuting those. At least not at the state level. And they're doing this because they want to be able to prosecute them at the state level. They want one more reason to be able to go after gun owners. Here's the thing, folks, and I get it. Domestic violence is a very, very bad thing. But ultimately what this does, and whether it's the federal level or the state level, now you have a misdemeanor. And they've already started to expand the number of misdemeanors that are prohibiting. If domestic violence, if this is so bad, if what the person did is so bad that they ought to lose a fundamental right for the rest of their life, well, then guess what? That ought to be a felony. So that's where we stand on 3129. AB 1968 implements a lifetime ban on firearms ownership by individuals that have been admitted to a mental health facility more than once in a 1-year period. You know, if someone's going to be going to wind up in an institution, you know, in particular, if they're going through a crisis, there's a decent chance they could wind up more than once having to be in a mental facility. It also doesn't distinguish between what type of mental facility or what reason. It just basically what it does is it puts all mental illness into one big pot and says, yeah, if you have mental illness so severe that you have to be hospitalized more than once in a year, well, you lose your rights forever. We just do not believe that someone ought to lose their rights forever because they take a point upon themselves to actually seek help when they've got a challenge. So we want them to veto 1968. AB 2526 allows GVROs to be issued verbally by judicial officers. Honestly, I think these things should just be in writing. If you're going to take away someone's rights, you need to have something in writing that you can give to them. I'm sorry, that's just the way it should be. AB 1903 prohibits the dispensing of gift cards from FFLs for gun buyback programs. This specifically is a bill to target Walmart. But, you know, I don't know why an FFL would want to be involved in a gun buyback program, but we don't believe that any business, in particular one that facilitates the exercising of our constitutional rights, should be discriminated against. Anyway, those are all of the bills. What I'll be doing over the next week or so is I'll be kind of going through them one by one. I'll let you see some testimony from some of the committees and give you a chance to really see what the problems are with these particular measures. So please, please take a moment, take some time, follow the link in the description to this video, and take action now. Tell these folks that they tell the Governor Brown that he needs to veto these bills. Don't wait, because we don't know when he's going to sign them. So please, please, please don't wait. Get your word in now. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. I very much thank you for tuning in. I thank you for taking the time and listening to what we have to say, in particular on this, this Take Action, because this is the reason why we do this. As much as I love talking about the news stories and the movies and stuff like that, this is the reason why FPC exists. And what makes us powerful is that you folks are so engaged. So this only works if you guys are working with us. So please take a moment, follow the link in the description of this video, and take action on these very bad bills and tell Governor Brown to veto California Gun Control 2018. That's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please tell everyone about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.